So thank you again just for joining us. I know that we've brought our families and our community together a lot this summer as we've navigated COVID-19. But we do want to welcome all of you. And really the purpose for bringing folks in tonight is to orient you to the school year. A lot of what we've done this summer is to get ready for a really unprecedented time and to try to get some feedback on our reopening plans. But tonight is really about welcoming you to Twality, giving you an update, pointing you in the direction of some resources, and really just kind of talking about what we're about and what we're planning for the school year. So in this first slide, you'll notice that we have a new mascot and a logo in progress. So we are now officially the Thunderhawks. And so if you start seeing this or some other Thunderhawk versions, we are still in the process of adopting a new logo. And this was all student run. And they've voted throughout the last school year. So as we enter our new building this winter, the hope is that we have some new branding and some new swag to roll out to our kids and our families. So we're excited about that. If you want to go to the next slide, please. I will likely be saying next slide, please, a lot tonight, so just know that. So tonight we're going to give sort of just a welcome and overview from me, and I'm Andrew Krill, I'm the principal here at Twality Middle School. And then we're going to have some different presenters just from our school present some different topics tonight. And the idea is so you can sort of get some faces with some names, learn who to go to with different resources, as well as just do some learning about what middle school kids are going to experience and how they can be supported this year. So some of those things is, how to support social and emotional health during remote learning, how to support your child online. I think one of the things we all wonder is, if I've been working all day, how do I know what they've been working on? So how can I check on that? So what are the student expectations in a virtual learning environment? We're going to talk about our affinity groups and how we're including all kids. And then after that, we're going to excuse our 7th and 8th grade families to do just some introductions about 6th grade. So what's happening developmentally for 6th graders, talk about our performing arts and our web activities that are coming up. So that's sort of an overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. Next, please. So the next few slides, I'm just going to introduce some people who you will see and can interact with throughout the school year. So again, I'm Andrew Krill, I'm the principal here. Gwen Stover is our associate principal. Shauna Giesler is our dean of students. And Nick Sidlin is our admin intern, and he's helping us with our social emotional learning program this year. Next, please. On our front office staff, we have Jennifer McDonald, who's our head secretary. Victoria Garcia is our attendance secretary. And Marisol Juarez is our receptionist and health room coordinator. And she's new to Twality, so welcome, Marisol. Next, please. We also have our office staff in counseling. So Amy Meisch is our bookkeeper, and she's been helping us build our master schedule this week. And Christy Dowdy is our registrar and our counseling secretary at Twality. And then, of course, we have our counseling staff. So if you're new to Twality, Brittany Volk is our counselor for alphabets last names A through L, and she's on the left. And Sue Bryant Porter, who is going to be joining us tonight, is our counselor for M through Z. So you'll get to meet her later on this evening. And we also have media and technology staff. And so we never knew how important these people, they were always important. We never knew just how important these folks are to helping us run a school. And especially this year as we've been coordinating iPad pickups and drop-offs and those things, but also just tech support as people are getting used to a really challenging time as we're learning remote learning. So Albie Mendoza is our tech coordinator at Twality, and he helps with our technical side of things for us. Whitney Harvey is our classroom technology coordinator, and she really helps our teachers learn new tools for online learning, such as Florida Virtual or Canvas or some of the things that we're learning about now. And Cynthia Jones is our librarian, and she helps with all things technology as well. And then, of course, we have our family liaison, Daisy Santana, and she helps coordinate all sorts of things, including our basic needs program. So for families who need additional support, she is a resource to go to, and she's just a great advocate for us. And then this is me. So if I had a chance to meet you last year as an incoming 6th grade family. We were in the Templeton cafeteria, and I was sitting on a milk crate, or standing on a milk crate, giving this introduction, because it was already an unusual way to start a school year, as we were in an elementary school space. So these pictures might look familiar, but this was my middle school experience, and I always just like to share these as we're starting things off, because I think Sue Bryant Porter, our counselor, is going to talk about a little later to sixth grade families, is that this is a time for unprecedented transition anyway. So if you look to the left here, this is me when I'm a sixth grader. Was an obsessive Blazer fan. All I could do was play basketball. Then I was really cared about looking good, etc. In seventh grade, I was all about, fashion and hanging out. And then I discovered grunge music as I entered eighth grade. So I think like the transitions I went through, I'm glad I did. There's not more pictures up here, but this is what happens a lot in middle school, as kids are sort of finding their identity and finding their place. And I know that that's going to be one of the things we're focusing on this year, is sort of how kids are evolving and finding out who they are in this really unique part of their lives. So next slide, please. Don't want to look at that one anymore. And the other thing I just want to talk about, just to kind of let you know what my values are as a principal and somebody who really cares about this community, are the three things that I think about every day in our work. And those three things are equity of access for all kids, relationships and how important those are, especially in really trying times, and collaboration. And tonight it's really specifically about collaborating with families. It's always challenging as kids age to have really strong family partnerships. But I think that we've learned through this time that those are more important now than ever. So I'm going to talk about just briefly those three things in the next couple of slides here, and I'm going to pass it over to introduce some new folks. So we can go to the next slide, please. So one of the first values I want to name is equity. It is the thing that drives me in my work as I've taught throughout the country and became a leader. And it's really this idea that not every student needs the same thing, especially in times like now. But it is our job as a school system to make sure that every student has what they need, in really providing access of opportunity for all students. And we are really committed at Twality to creating a safe and welcoming environment for every student. So just with the events that are happening in our world and in our country, it's more important than ever that we're really committed to making sure that all kids feel included and safe at school. Next, please. The second aspect is relationships. And, our students need us now more than ever to provide community, care, connection, and an interactive and highly engaging learning experience. They will buy into us and their classmates and not the content alone. So one of the things that we really were committed to as we started this school year, knowing that, none of us grew up learning online or teaching online or becoming leaders online. But we know that relationships are really the cornerstone of keeping kids connected and coming back to us. And so, I really just want to name that we created a space in our schedule for students to come together and make connections with one another and build connections with their teachers. And I think that it's going to be the thing that really helps kids learn and grow as we navigate this really unusual year. Next, please. And then the final piece is what I already mentioned, is that's collaboration. And it's the need to really work together this year as a team. As we created the schedule for reopening schools, we wanted to pare down the number of teachers interacting with kids so they could really, as a teacher, own a group of students and really be able to advocate for them and reach out to families and reach out to those kids and almost be a case manager for their needs as they're trying to learn how to do school in a really different way. And again, family partnerships are just going to be incredibly important. And I think you're going to be hearing from us pretty frequently, and we're going to need your input and want it. This year, we're going to revamp our site council again, and I encourage anybody who wants to be a part of that to please reach out to me or Gwen Stover, the other associate principal. We'd love to have you and have your voice at the table as we make it through the school year. Next slide, please. And the last thing I want to talk about before I pass it on to learn more about Twality is just our building. So if I am looking outside right now and the skies are orange, and but in the distance I can see that our building is making a ton of progress. So we're, as of right now, on track to be moving into our new space in December. And I hope that it's really exciting. And I've walked through it, and it's just awesome to see. So we will update you on all things new building in the coming months. And I feel really fortunate that we have something really awesome to look forward to right now. Next, please. Okay, so I'm either going to pass it over to Gwen Stover or Greg Sheldrick if he's on, to kind of talk about what social emotional learning is in middle school and how kids can be supported right now.
Yeah, that part's me. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Sheldrick. I'm the school psychologist for Twality Middle School. I'm a full-time psychologist at middle school. So I work alongside the counselors and the administration and the teachers to help students socially and emotionally. And so I want to talk about what is social and emotional learning. I think it's being thrown about quite a bit, but do we really understand what exactly that means? And social and emotional learning involves several different components, several different parts. First and foremost, can the child understand and manage their emotions? Can they set and achieve positive goals? Can they feel and show empathy for others? Can they establish and maintain positive relationships? And can they make responsible decisions? And those are really, really important things. And as I read those out loud, I think about my 13-year-old eighth grader, and some areas he's strong in, some areas he's not so strong in. And so we understand that all children are coming to us with different varying levels of ability. And so we understand that. Staff spent countless hours over the summertime looking at how we're not a brick and mortar school. You're not sending your kids to Twality Middle School, but we're learning virtually. And so how can we make this happen in a virtual environment? And so we have the tenets or basic principles of teaching self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Sounds like a ginormous task. And this is the what of social and emotional learning. In just a minute, Nick Sidleman will take the how. How are we going to do this as Twality staff? Because we deeply care about your kids, and we want them to learn as you do all these important pieces to be responsible parts of our society. And so the next, if you go to the next slide, is what can you do, or what parents can do as far as supporting what's going to happen here at Twality Middle School with the staff working with their students. The very first and foremost, most important piece, and I forgot to put it on my slide, I apologize, is modeling. Modeling the behavior that you want to see from your kids. And that's said with a lot of grace because we're going through a very turbulent and crazy time. And if you're like me, you're very anxious and you have a little depression just because things are so different. But giving yourself grace and trying to model in those teachable moments, what do you want to see from your child as part of the world, as part of humanity? What do you want to see from them? And so additionally, in addition to modeling, is try as much as possible to have consistency with scheduling for them. Summertime's almost over. So we're looking at, having schedules, having kids go to bed at their regular times, have them get up at regular times, because consistency just breeds positive interactions with the world around us when things are so uncertain. It helps to build certainty through consistency and scheduling. Another way is encourage your kids when they have so much screen time, movement breaks, get up, move around. It's too much time to spend in front of a screen. We're worried about that with our kids, but especially with learning happening virtually, we want them to be up and moving and getting as much movement as possible. Another area is increasing social interaction. At all the possible ways, in the most safe ways, have your children interact socially. It most likely will be online. School will provide opportunities for those and to build a community and interacting with other kids in the classroom. Those are going to be really, really important times to have your child be part of, because those will allow them to see their peers, their friends, their people they're used to seeing. They haven't had a lot of opportunity for that, so it's really important. The next piece is just offer help and support however you can. You may not know Algebra 1, but you might know how to look up an answer on YouTube. It doesn't matter. Just offer help and support how you can and where you can and when you can. This could be the most important. And if you go, there's a hot link that I have on there that you probably can't access. And so I want to make sure that we'll get that out to you in the community via email or other ways, just to make sure you have those resources access. So if you want to learn more about social and emotional learning. Okay, next slide. So the next piece is the accessing support. We know Twality, even though we know that you as parents and caregivers don't have all the answers and have other things to take care of. So we want to be there to support you. Even though we're not a brick and mortar school right now, we're still a school, and we're still a Twality, we're still a community. We want to be here for you and to provide the help alongside you as your child navigates a virtual learning environment. And so we have a couple important pieces that'll be shared via email. It's in the student handbook, and it'll also come on other ways too. There's what's called a family student needs request. And what that is just if there's any sort of obstacles to your child's learning, like food, internet access, or bullying, or whatever kind of thing, or technology issue, please fill out that form and let us know. That's also available in Spanish as well. But the most important piece is we're here for you. We want to hear from you. So pick up the phone, shoot us an email. We want to know what we can do to help your child be successful in this really uncertain time. And next slide. And I'm going to pass it off to Nick Sidlin, who's going to talk about the how. We talked about the what, and now the how.
Nick, your mic is muted. Nick, we still can't hear you. Okay, it looks like, I'm sorry, Nick. This is Gwen Stover. I'm the associate principal here at Twality. I can't see you, but warm hello to all of you. And for the students out there, yes, this long summer is indeed ending. You will be going back to school, so I'll be having information about your schedules later. What Nick was going to share with you is that as part of our distance learning program, we will be hosting morning meetings twice a week, whether you're in the A through L cohort, which meets with their core teachers on Monday and Tuesday, or the M through Z cohort, which meets with their core teachers Thursday and Friday. We will have dedicated time where students can connect with each other, create a connection with a trusted adult, explore community, have opportunities to respond to what's happening in the world. We know middle school, a big part of middle school is connecting with friends. And this morning meeting time is going to be a place for peer-to-peer conversation guided with an adult. So it also will be a place, as Greg mentioned, for socialization, for emotional learning, for identity development. As Andrew mentioned in his own middle school years, he made a lot of changes from 6th grade to 8th grade. The morning meeting is a place where students can talk about their experience while they're in middle school. Next slide, please. We also wanted to share that, again, while we can't invite your students into the building, we are there as your partner in establishing safety for all of our community members. So in morning meeting, in classes, we will be talking about citizenship and kindness and how to treat each other with respect. And we'll also be talking about what bullying is, how to identify it, and how to be an ally in interrupting it or advocating for oneself. So please know that we take bullying very seriously at Twality, and we are there to partner with you and with our students if they encounter an issue. Next slide. A couple of resources. If your student encounters what they feel like might be bullying, and in this virtual world, that might be texting, it might be in platforms or in social media platforms. Please know that if that event happens between two of our students that's making a student feel uncomfortable, we treat it like a school community issue. We will partner with families and with students to resolve that issue. And a great place to start is with your student's school counselor. And you'll be hearing from Sue Porter, who is our counselor for the M through Z crowd later in this presentation. And they can be great problem solvers with students around these issues. But we also have a Twality student report form where a student, if they just feel like it'll be a way for students to find their voice and access an adult at school to report any kind of issue of concern they have. And finally, we have Safe Oregon. I hope you're aware of it. Well, you can always access it on the Twality Middle School webpage. This is not a place where anyone can report anonymously a concern 24 hours a day that involves one of our students or community members. Next slide. All right, Greg mentioned that while we are a virtual school, we're not losing the infrastructure and care and support that you would find in a brick and mortar Twality. And while this is a lot of information up on the screen right now, we are going to make this presentation available to you on our website after this evening. And here are some resources that we want you to be aware of. There will be an attendance line that we use just like any year to report absences. Daisy Santana is our family liaison, and she can assist families with securing school supplies, connecting you to the Pact with Pride and the Tigard-Tualatin Resource Center, which you can find in the Tigard High School parking lot. Albie Mendoza, you may have met him during 6th grade iPad checkout. He can provide tech assistance for your family during this time. Obviously, for a lot of us, this leap to virtual learning has forced us to navigate maybe some of our own technology fears. You're not alone. Albie is just a phone call away, and we can assist you with any kind of iPad issues or anything, or any difficulty connecting with your classes. And again, you met Greg earlier. You're going to meet Sue. We have 2 amazing counselors and a school psychologist that are available to you to answer questions, provide support, etc. And finally, you can always call our Dean of Students, Shauna Giesler, or myself, Gwen Stover, Associate Principal, if you're having concerns about behavior support or any kind of absenteeism or school avoidance, any of those type of things. My background is also counseling, and I welcome your phone calls to do problem solving together. Next slide. So I'm going to pass it now on to Whitney Harvey.
Hi there. All right, so as we're all learning and navigating something new, I would like to talk to you for a moment about how we can support our students online. The first step is to make sure that we get connected. If you are not already connected, you want to use your Parent View account in order to log in to Canvas for parents. In years past, we've always used that Parent View for everything. And now most all of the day-to-day things will be found through Canvas. While it is a little nerve-wracking learning a brand new system, we do believe that it's going to offer many amazing ways to help you stay connected to your students and their learning in more ways. So the second step is to stay connected once you get connected. And once you are connected to your students in Canvas, there are many ways to stay connected. As parents, we all know that sometimes we don't get that much information when we ask that question, what did you do today? Or, okay, so what do you have to do today? And we just aren't exactly sure what is going on. And we have many other things to worry about as parents. So the nice thing is that everything is within Canvas going forward. So once you are connected, you're going to be able to see your students' calendars that are color-coded and all of their courses in one place with assignments and due dates by course. You can look in their current modules and see what assignments they are on and what upcoming assignments are. You will have an ability to see recent feedback from teachers. There's also a grades tab, which is a change from previously how we would go to Parent View to view grades. You will now be viewing the current grades within Canvas, and you can see your students' grades for each course within the grades tab. And finally, we'll be communicating with teachers through the Canvas inbox, which will be linked to your email. All right, so the third thing is that there is more support. You'll see here when you get the slideshow that is a link to the TTSD YouTube channel. That is a resource that has tech webcasts available. And you also can look for more support coming from your students' teachers with resources for navigating Canvas. Finally, a reminder to please have your student turn on and charge up and connect their iPad to the TTSD filter ahead of that first day of school. Knowing that they are connected will allow them to receive any updates that their iPad may need to get. Apps that are pushed out will load once that iPad is connected to the TTSD filter if it hasn't been throughout the summer. Next slide, please.
Okay. All right, now everyone's been waiting for this, and I've seen a couple of questions in the chat. All right, I hope there's some students out there that maybe are listening. Yes, summer is ending. You will be going back to school, and yay, right? And I would also say Ms. Harvey is totally correct. I am challenging you students out there to track down that iPad, find your charger block and your cord, and maybe wipe it down a little bit. Who knows? Maybe it's a little dusty. Time to get it cleaned up, plug it in, get ready for Monday, okay? Your schedule, when you receive it on parent view and student view, because that's where it's going to appear, is going to look a little different than usual, okay? This schedule, it's going to be a 12-period week schedule, okay? And you're like, what is that? All right, we're going to talk about that. We are splitting you up into 2 cohorts. If your last name, even if it's hyphenated, starts with an A through L, you will be in the Monday, Tuesday core cohort. That means on Monday, you're going to start by meeting with your language arts, social studies, math, your core teachers, okay? You will meet with them on Mondays and Tuesdays. You'll see from 2 to 2:45, that's a flex time that will allow you to access tutorial support, or if you have questions about what you learned during the day, you can access teachers during this 2 to 2:45 time. But you will have a first block where you'll do that morning meeting. That's basically peer-to-peer social emotional learning with one of your core teachers. Then you'll have a little stretch break for 15 minutes. And then your second block, you'll move on to another core teacher. So I think you're going to start with math, then you'll move down to language arts. On Tuesdays, it'll be science, and you'll move down to social studies, or vice versa, depending on which class you're in. But you will mainly be working with 2 core teachers for all of your language arts, social studies, science subjects, okay? And then you'll have a break here, 11:15 to 12:45, all right? So morning meeting, first block, then you'll move on to math, second block, then you'll move on to language arts, third block, okay? And then you'll have a break, but if you need to access a teacher, you can use this 2 to 2:45 office hours flex time to access extra support, all right? So on Mondays, you will go to periods 1, 2, and 3. On Tuesdays, you'll be right back in morning meeting again with the same group of students. There'll be a small cohort of you, about probably 20 students, that will be having this experience together and all of these classes together. And then you'll move down to 5th block, which is with your core teacher. You'll have lunch and break. And then you'll also have your 3rd block. So Monday and Tuesday, same teachers, kind of the same consistent schedule. On Wednesdays, you'll have a break, okay? You'll have one brief check-in with your teachers, 9 to 9:30, to share progress on how you're doing in your core subjects. And then Wednesday is an independent study time where you are focusing on tasks that were assigned to you during your core days. Then over here on Thursday and Friday, you'll start with period 7. That will be your first block from 9 to 10. And for the cohort A through L, you will flip over to your electives. Thursday and Friday will be your elective day. All right. You'll see cohort M through Z. On Monday, your first day of school, you will start with your electives classes on Monday and Tuesday, and then you will move over to do your core work on Thursdays and Fridays. Flex time is available for everybody, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Okay, next slide, please. This is another different way of looking at it, and this is probably what you will see in student view. You'll see the 0 period is Wednesdays, 9 to 9:30. You only meet once for this community check-in, once a week, just to share progress on your studies and do problem solving if you need to access a tutorial or office or flex time. Mondays will be periods 1 through 3. So this student you will see is in the A through L cohort. They're starting their Monday with a morning meeting, then they'll go to math, then they'll go to language arts. On Tuesday, they'll do periods 4, 5, and 6. Same teachers, you'll see here, Mr. Kester, okay, which is not a Twality teacher, I might add. We just pulled this. This is a sample. You'll have, again, morning meeting, science, and social studies. You'll be traveling with about the same 20 students, okay? So Monday will be an exciting day. You'll get to meet the 20 peeps that you'll be traveling with this semester. Okay, and then Thursdays, the A through L cohort will move over to do their electives and PE. Every student at Twality is getting 1 credit of elective. We worked really hard to prioritize students' first choice electives. I know that there's some students out there that are very anxious to continue with their band or their orchestra. We worked hard to prioritize those classes for you. Every student will also get a PE class. So you will have 2 periods a day, and some students will have a 3rd period for reading support, English language learning. It could be something that fits their individual learning profile. So Thursdays and Fridays for the A through L cohort are electives and PE, and then you'll see your final periods 10 through 12 is Friday. And again, you're meeting with your, in this case, Ms. Heswike is our band teacher. You will meet with her on Thursdays and Fridays. Next slide. Oh, can you go back 1 slide? Just 1 minute. You probably, I almost moved on too quickly without mentioning probably what you're all wondering is like, when am I going to get my schedule? And I promise you, we will be getting you your schedule, as soon as we possibly can. We will send an email as soon as it's ready. It will be available to you live in parent view. It will be available to you this week. You will have the directions that you need to start on Monday at school. It's just a very different type of schedule for us this year. As most of you know, we would love to have schedules in your hands right now. This type of schedule for distance learning has demanded us to hand schedule your students into classes, which takes longer. So we're working very hard, and we will get those schedules to you as soon as we possibly can. And you will have chances to interact with counselors if you have questions when you receive them. Next slide. Okay, so what are the students' expectations during distance learning? Again, while we're virtual, we're still a Twality community, and we have our Twality way of being together. And what you'll know is, like, on the first week of school, we're having a soft start. You will not be assigned a lot of homework during this first week. It's really about us getting used to working in this environment with each other, getting to know each other, and also learning how to show up as students in this environment. Unlike the distance learning in March, where we were kind of reacting to the pandemic, we are now going to be moving forward with an intentional process where students will be receiving letter grades for their classes. As parents, you'll be able to view grades in Canvas, and Canvas can be a really effective tool for you in terms of like getting updates about your students' work, how to advocate for them advocate for them at home, and get progress reports. So in this presentation, which we'll post on the webpage, there'll be a link to the Twality Student Handbook. We've adapted it for our virtual space. A lot of the things will look very familiar to you. It's just about showing up and being a good citizen at Twality, but we're doing it online together. one thing to know is we know there could be interruptions in families' Wi-Fi. Actually, this week we're experiencing interruptions with our power. We know families are working hard, and we want and understand that our students need to pitch in and help the family with chores, with babysitting and other family needs. So makeup work and late work will be accepted. We understand that we're in a unique situation, and maybe the typical deadlines that you would see in a brick and mortar school will not apply here. And please know, if you have concerns, we are here to work with you and partner with you. You can always contact a teacher, a counselor, myself, our dean, if you are worried or have concerns about something. Next slide. So this is a sample of the virtual agreements that we will be introducing to our students next week. Really, it's about showing up responsibly in this environment, like in the virtual environment. And some of it looks very similar to classroom, respectful classroom discussion, like share the air. We want all of our teachers to have a voice in our classroom. We want to mute our mics when we're not talking and allow other people to share. We might be using a raise the hand feature to get attention rather than just using the mic to interrupt someone else. So we'll be working on all of those appropriate communication strategies that we know is something we would always work on with middle schoolers when they move into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We want to really encourage students to log in on time. We really want to see your students present during the interactive sessions of school. And we will be working around organization and how to keep a schedule, how to put it on the fridge and monitor your own time, and have a backup plan if your Wi-Fi gets disconnected, all of those things. So again, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but we will be looking at ways to be a responsible virtual student. One question that often comes up here is, are the video cameras required to be on during school? And we would say no. We're gonna work with students to for them to demonstrate interactivity during their classes with their teachers in a way that feels comfortable to them. What we really want is them to be there and to interact. It could be through the chat, it could be through their voice, if they do not have to keep their video camera on. Next slide. Attendance is going to look a little different than it did in spring when we, during March through June. So please know that during this distance learning, we really are wanting to see students every day in their classes. And the Oregon Department of Education requires that teachers take attendance for each class period. So attending and participating in interactive class sessions led by teachers will provide students with instruction and content they need to be successful. We really want to see them in those interactive sessions. But we also know life gets in the way, whether it's a power outage, whether it's a family committed, whether it's a technology issue. So please know we'll work with you if there's something that comes up that your student can't interact with teachers during their scheduled classes. We'll work with your family on that. Next slide. So this is getting into a little bit of the nuances, the way what attendance looks like in this virtual space. So we want students to be present for their classes and interact with their peers and their teachers. If your student cannot attend a class, we want you to use the absence line and report it if your students get sick, maybe there's a family thing that comes up, please report that absence just like you would in a typical year, okay? But sometimes we know that for whatever reason, a student may not be able to show up during a scheduled class. There will be a way there is also what we call alternate present available to students and families where they can demonstrate interaction in their learning through submitting an email, a phone conversation. There'll be some Google Forms and structures that your student will learn about next week, maybe in their PE class where they're reporting their exercise minutes. There are alternate ways to demonstrate their progress in the class and show attendance. We do want that alternate presence to occur during the same calendar day as the class. Again, this is kind of a different way of thinking about attendance, and we're all trying it out. So if you have further questions, your teacher can help you. Next slide. So again, we want you to report attendance. The attendance phone number is here and it's also on our website. We also have a Spanish speaking line if you would like to access a Spanish speaker at our school. And when you reported absence, please state the student's name, the date of the absence, and the specific reason for the absence. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to pass things on now to Lisa Haswike, who wears multiple hats. She is our band teacher at Twality. She's one of our building equity leaders at our school, and she's also one of our affinity group program leaders. So Lisa.
Thanks, Gwen. Hi, I'm Lisa Haswike, and I'm the director of bands at Twality. I'm a building equity coordinator, district student pillar, and Asian affinity group leader. Thank you so much for attending the session, and we all look forward to working with you this school year. Part of TTSD's equity framework is to operationalize equity pillar work to educate every student. So today we're sharing with you one of the ways Twality operationalizes our student pillar for equity, and that's through our student affinity and alliance groups. We have several people involved in equity work at Twality and in Tigard-Tualatin School District. So to best represent them, you'll be hearing from them rather just than me in these next slides. So a lot of these are pre-recorded, but they're from 7 different groups that we have. So you're going to hear student quotes, staff quotes, as well as see images of our affinity and alliance groups of Twality. Next slide. I'm not hearing any sound.
Lisa, we can hear you.
An alliance is a place where students who share a common identity can meet with each other and with students who support them.
Each group at Twality is different, and students decide together if they want to focus on advocacy, education, or being social and supporting each other.
People from students often create People from marginalized groups have historically faced the burden of having to teach others about their experience and perspective. Affinity groups allow for a space from that burden. Students often create pseudo-affinity groups at lunch tables and friendship groups. These groups naturally form out of a deep desire to connect across similarities and understand identity. Aren't affinity groups just a form of segregation? Segregation refers to historical injustices of systematic and institutional oppression. In contrast, affinity is about empowering individuals through shared identity and experiences.
Affinity groups are an often facilitated space where youth can explore identity, celebrate shared identity, and debrief common challenges. This supports healthy racial identity development.
I've really enjoyed working with our students in the Black Student Union as they co-create a space where they can feel seen, valued, and supported. Students were glad to address education about Black history by inviting Twality students and Black students from across the district for the Black History 101 Mobile Museum event last year. And several used their voice for positive change in our community through participating in activism in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. This year, I really look forward to supporting students in whatever initiatives they hope to take on next.
Pacific Islander Pride is made up of students representing many different islands, cultures, and languages. PIP works to share these differences with its members, but also celebrate the similarities of an island heritage. We have partnered with a hula school in Beaverton to expand our learning and hope to share aspects of our cultures with the whole school community. We hope to reestablish our partnership with the Pacific Islander group at Portland State University and to attend their luau in May.
Hello. Something I really like about MECHA is the opportunity to create a really strong community, and it is built on a pride of their culture and pride of heritage and learning about one another and our experiences as Latinx people.
Throughout the years, students in MECHA have also been able to attend several fun events, one of them being the Cinco de Mayo Festival at the Portland waterfront, as well as the opportunity to attend 2 MECHA leadership conferences held in the fall and in the spring each year. At these events, students were able to explore their culture and also build and strengthen their leadership skills. We are hoping to be able to attend these events again this year.
Asian Affinity Group is open to all Asians from many different areas. The following are 2 student quotes. Our affinity group is important to me because we can help each other solve problems and build each other up along the way.
My affinity group was important to me because I was surrounded by people I could relate to. I also got to learn more about the cultures of people in my group. We're an evolving student group that encompasses more than just the Middle East. We have origins in Libya, Afghanistan, India, Egypt, Pakistan, Syria, and more. Many, but not all, follow the Muslim faith. Meeting together provides students a space of safety, understanding, and inclusivity. We celebrate our various cultures through conversations, potlucks, and affinity events. We also created school-wide lessons around Ramadan so that others may understand this important holiday. We welcome you to join our group. The Native American Affinity Group is a small but tightly formed group who together had the opportunity to celebrate and find pride in their culture. They participated in a school-wide assembly with Native dancers and performed traditional dance themselves for families and students during our Twality United event.
The LGBTQ+ Alliance is a place of safety for students to be who they are. We welcome all LGBTQ+ students and allies. On this slide, you can see pictures from our virtual Pride celebration last spring, as well as quotes from our students. In addition to celebrating Pride Month, our group has organized a school-wide day to raise awareness of the bullying of LGBTQ+ youth. We have also participated in the National Day of Silence every spring. Our group has 2 leaders, but we meet virtually as one collective group. Please feel free to email or call either one of us.
One of our big picture goals for our Affinity and Alliance groups is to bridge across our differences. Examples of past events we collaborated with all Twality Affinity groups working together include Twality United, Twality Together, and Black Panther viewing and post-viewing discussion led by Dr. Marvin Lin of PSU. These events brought all of our groups together. Twality United was a student-led celebration of all of our various identities and cultures. These groups also collaborate across the district, such as TTSD, VSUs from middle school and high school, attended the Black History Mobile Museum, and MECHA leaders from all middle school and high schools attended Leadership Conference together. We know that COVID-19 and distance learning has impacted our underserved and underrepresented families disproportionately. Join us in Affinity and find support as well as share your lived experience so that we know how we can do better for you and your family. We need your voice to ensure we plan with your needs in mind. This is a start of an ongoing series Tigard-Tualatin School District is hosting. Facts
Family Affinity Connection Series. More than ever before, the art of community is necessary for us not only to survive, but to thrive. We hope to see you there.
Thank you, Thor, for being my slide runner on those. One imprint I'm hoping that we can leave with you is that we really want to work on identity development in middle school. And this is one way that can really help is affinity and alliance groups, especially for groups of students who are not often reflected in our world, in our media, and even in our staff. So giving them this opportunity to work together with shared identity can really help them a lot. And also that we want to bridge across difference and we want to work together. So we hope we can leave you with the idea of collectivism and that we love to work with you and your families in the future. This Family Affinity series is a great way for you to get plugged in. And similarly to Andrew talking about site council and how that's a bridge from families to staff, we hope that we can see some of you in the Family Affinity Connection series on Zoom as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll pass it back to Andrew.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for all the people who gave up their evening to join us, and for those who gave up their evening to present. I'm going to give you some more information about Twality. At this time, if you are a 7th and 8th grade student or parent, you are welcome to stay, but we're going to give some 6th grade specific information coming up next. So if you need to step away, we totally understand. But at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Sue Porter, who's going to walk through some of the 6th grade experience.
Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm so glad you're able to join us tonight, and I really appreciate your time. I'm going to keep it very brief because I know you've been here for a long time. We are excited to get started working with your students in this virtual world that we're all learning to navigate, and me especially learning to navigate. There are some things that never change, though, about our students. And one of those is growing through the years between being an elementary student and having a fully formed prefrontal cortex. Middle school is a time when students are moving from concrete to abstract thinking, and they lack the brain development to make sense of many things that come their way. These changes take place all through these years of middle school, and they're making new friends and experiencing different things. And it can be a really tumultuous time for kids. It can cause them major distress in middle schools. Peer groups can change and then change again. Proximity plays a big part for kids. And now that they're home for the beginning of this year, that can be kind of stressful for them too. So we need to be really cognizant of that and make sure that they get their time in their classes where they can have some time with their friends and peers. It's normal for them to be a little bit anxious, and we don't want to pathologize any of that, but we want to make sure that they kind of come to it in a way that is builds their confidence. It can be tough for them, but they're going to survive. And the evolution of the friend situation is going to feel like they've triumphed when they get to the end of the road of middle school. You want to watch out for social media during these times, especially. And it can be used as in a friendly way, and it can be used very effectively in an unfriendly way. So we want to make sure that we do the right thing with the kids and be very aware of what's going on with them. So this can be a very tumultuous time at home and at school. And Ms. Volk and I are here to support you through this process and through what your students are going to go through. So the first bit of support that we're coming to is tonight. And we're going to tell you that you're right. Your middle school students do need you. They need you to help them schedule their time so that they can get to bed on time. And they need you to help figure out what their boundaries are. And they need you to be aware of what's going on with them, with their school work. And I talked to a lot of parents last spring that said, oh, but my kid's on online all day long. What do you mean they're not getting their schoolwork done? And that can be a big deal because they really are online all day long, but they didn't get their schoolwork done. So you can, through Canvas, you're going to be able to check that out, and that's going to be really great. If you check Canvas and you don't like what you see, you can make, an appointment with us, and we can help you work that out. We can set a time and meet with you and your child and kind of work things like that out. We just want to be here to partner with you. Many of us are going to be working at home with our kids, and that makes things can make things a little bit cramped up. But I think obviously last spring we all got through it, and we're going to get through it again. If your student is new to the area, or if they would just like to have a little bit more social time, we have the opportunity to have lunch groups in any grade level. So you can email us, or your child can email us, and we will make sure that happens. We'll get them set up with that in any grade. Again, we want to thank you for coming tonight, and please be in touch with us if you need anything. And we consider it a privilege to work with your kids. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lewis.
All right.
We can't hear you, Dave. And Thor, could we get the next slide, please?
Now.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yay.
Perfect. Okay, great. So first off, it is really great to be here with everyone tonight. I know I speak for all the teachers at Twality that we are so excited to be able to be finally back together, even if virtually, with your students and sixth grade parents, who most of you who are left, to be able to welcome them and see them. We are absolutely chomping at the bit to be with your kids again. So I'm just excited to even be able to speak with you guys tonight. As you can see on the screen, this is what we kind of looked like as a staff back in the sixth grade. I'll let you try to guess which of those young people is me. There are some of these faces you might recognize from around campus. So we all went through that phase in our life. And with any luck, if we go to the next slide, you can see we all, hopefully, we all turn out all right in the end. So if you're at all concerned that your student is going through a weird time, or trying on new clothes that look weird, or speaking in a different way, just think back to that time, and I promise you, they're all going to turn out great, and we are excited to be with them. So I wanted to give you a quick opportunity to see some of the faces of some of the teachers that your student might be having in sixth grade this year. So we'll just flip through these next couple of slides just to see some faces. Mr. Volschlager and Mr. Salmond are a team. Miss Dwyer and Miss Hill, Miss Schulte and Miss Young, Miss Aguirre and Miss Rowe, Mr. Bennett and Miss Spiegel. They're going to be specializing with the online only students this year. So if you are a student or a parent of a student in the online only program, they will be your teachers this year. And finally, the last face we wanted to see before we move on to our next topic is Mr. Rooney. I believe he's he's teaching seventh grade this year a little bit, but in addition to that, he is our tag coordinator. So if you have a student who's involved in our tag program, he'll be reaching out to you and coordinating their program for the year as well. So that's hat number one for me, which is just kind of being excited, welcoming teacher guy, because I do that around school quite a bit. My next hat is I'm the orchestra teacher. And as a sixth grade student, or all of the students at Twality actually, we get to take electives. And in the sixth grade, that choice of electives is narrowed down to our performing arts classes. So you can see here, Lisa Hasuike on the left is our band teacher. There's myself, Dave Lewis, I'm the orchestra teacher. Ryan Lee is our choir teacher, and joining Twality staff this year is Amberly Orr, who's going to be teaching drama. So those classes you saw in the sample schedule that Ms. Stover showed you earlier. 2 days a week, your student will have officially in their schedule an opportunity to meet with one of the four of us, depending on which class they forecast to or were scheduled into for the year. And I saw a lot of comments and questions in the chat about the time period given to the different electives programs. And I want to let you know, try to give a little clarity around that. It would appear that your child will be having twice as much in their elective class as they might be in math or in their language arts class. And the reason that looks like that, those classes, the language art, the core classes, language arts, social studies, math, and science, are teamed together. So your students will be with those teachers for an extended period of time over the 2 days and engaging with them more, and their morning meeting teacher is also going to be one of those teachers to develop more relationship there and have more time. Additionally, those classes are much smaller. Those classes are around 15 to 20, I think, maybe around that 15 number in size. All of our classes in the elective department are much larger. We have 40, sometimes even as high as 50 students all at once. So in our department, we're going to be breaking up that time that you see, those 2 blocks of time across 2 days. It's possible we might only be working with your student in a smaller group for a half hour one day and 15 minutes another day, depending on which class it is, depending on the day of the week. So I know the schedule can look confusing. It can look like it's heavily weighted towards PE, which I'll talk about in a moment, and heavily weighted toward electives. But I promise you, they will be spending a lot more time focusing with their core teachers than with their elective teachers. Much to my sadness, I of course would love to see them in orchestra every day, all day long, but that's a different story. So those are the classes. If we can go to the next slide, you can just see a little sampling. These are some of our past students in the various classes. Obviously, during other times, we have ensembles where we meet together. The big focus now, you can see a handful of pictures there, are from students who are doing practicing at home. We're going to be doing a lot of music. In the music classes, we'll be doing a lot of music fundamentals that can be applied towards playing. I think our focus is going to lean a little away from the ensemble skills this year, playing together as a group, because obviously lag and internet makes that a little bit more difficult. So there'll be a lot more focus on individual development of skills and chances for us to work with them. I also saw some comments about people who are concerned about students who have no previous musical experience. We base all of our classes in the music department and Miss Orr in drama based on students coming in with no experience at all. So we start from day one, assuming they have never been on a stage or they have never picked up an instrument before. So if you're concerned that your student may not quite be ready for it, they're absolutely ready for it. As long as they show up, we can take them from there. Just really quickly, as a specialized question regarding instrumental music classes, that would be my class, orchestra for string instruments, and Miss Asuike's band class. I know there's a lot of questions around instruments, how to get instruments. Should I have an instrument by now? How do I know what instrument I'm going to play? I want to give you space and give you a little sense of relief. We are not going to be playing our instruments in class for quite a little while, and the whole first several meetings is going to be about deciding instruments, deciding what instruments students want to play, and then we will be sending out information on how to get those instruments, be it renting from the school, from a music store, using an instrument you already have. We will go over all of those things with you once we meet your students, have our class list solidified. We'll be sending out plenty of information about that. And do not worry about the timing of it, especially right now. We understand it might take a little while to get instruments. We're going to have a day coming up towards the end of the month, I think, or maybe in the beginning of October, where students who get instruments from school will be able to come to school and pick those instruments up. So all of your instrument concerns and worry that might be in the back of your mind, if you know your student's going to be in band or orchestra, please know that that's not something you need to be worried about right now. And we will give you more information about that as soon as we possibly can once we have our class lists ready to go. So with that, I think we can move on to the next slide. And the other half of the non-core classes is PE. This year, Miss Stephanie Pfeiffer is going to be our PE teacher for all 6th grade students. So as you saw on the schedule earlier, your students will be meeting with her twice a week during that window. And again, her classes will be much larger in size. So the amount of time she's going to give individually to students or in small groups is going to be proportioned similarly. I haven't heard a lot about how Miss Pfeiffer is planning to run her class this year. I know she and the other 2 PE teachers who teach 7th and 8th grade have been spending a lot of time focusing on how to turn PE into something that's especially useful right now, where we all find ourselves, myself included right now, and yourself, in front of screens sitting down. I know they're working on developing a PE curriculum that will get your students up and moving and getting some of that action that they need to be able to focus throughout the rest of the day. So more specific questions about PE, I will leave you to Ms. Pfeiffer, who will be introducing herself to you again once our class lists are final and we are able to reach out to you. So I think if I move on to the next slide, I think I get to put on a different hat. That's right, yeah. So now I get to put on a separate hat. In addition to being the orchestra teacher, I'm also one of our web coordinators. And WEB stands for Where Everybody Belongs, and it is our 6th grade transition program. And what WEB does is we have a group of 42 8th graders who have been assigned to every single 6th grader by pairs, so 2 8th graders with about 12 6th graders to kind of be their buddies for this year, kind of like a big brother, big sister sort of thing. And throughout the year, those 2 web leaders, those 2 8th graders are going to take your student kind of under their wing as an older student who's been around Twality, who knows how things work. It's going to help them feel welcome, to answer questions for them, and to be a point of support for them outside of the adults, because sometimes it's easier to talk to another student than it is to talk to an adult. So we want to make sure that they feel totally connected. The screen right now you'll see there is bright orange. When you see your student, if you ever see your student talking to an older looking student on a Google Meet and they have a bright orange shirt on, that is one of our web leaders. We use that really bright orange to make them very easy to see. So hopefully you'll be seeing them communicate from time to time. There's a few things you can see here on the screen, just what to expect as far as web goes for the beginning of the year. At this point, you may have already received, if you're a 6th grade student or parent, 7th and 8th graders, you already know about web, hopefully. If you're a 6th grade student or parent, you should have either already received or will be receiving in the next day, probably tomorrow, a phone call from your web leader. We've asked them to actually reach out and personally connect with you or with your student. We find it goes a long way to hear a voice on the other end of the phone say, "Hi, I'm your web leader. I can't wait to see you at orientation. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Be there." So if you get a phone call from a student and you're wondering, is this person really calling? Is this person what is this person gonna say to my student? I would encourage you to let them speak with your 6th grader. They're just gonna say hello, ask them if they have any questions, and tell them how to reach the orientation that'll be taking place on Friday. And if you're not comfortable doing that, I encourage you to speak to the web leader yourself, get that information and pass it along to your child. Then this Friday, 2 days from now, we're going to be having an orientation, and that's going to have 2 parts to it. There's going to be a main greeting room at 9 o'clock. If you are a student, if your student has their core classes on an A day, that's the A through K students, they're going to have an orientation that starts at 9 o'clock. And if your student is a B day core class, that's last names L through Z, they're going to have an orientation at 10:30. And you will find, your student will find, once they get their iPad up and they've connected it to the TTSD web filter, they should have, by tomorrow, they should have an invitation in their Google Calendar, and it will also pop up tomorrow in their Google Meets. There will be an invitation to come to the 6th grade web orientation. And right at 9 o'clock or at 10:30, students will pop into those meetings. I will be there with a welcoming video. And after about 5 or 10 minutes of welcome, we're gonna send them off to student-led breakout rooms for about 45 minutes, where their 8th grade web leaders will be doing some activities with them, orienting them to the school, having some fun, playing some games, and really just trying to create that one-on-one connection with your student. And at the very end, just about an hour after it begins, we'll all get back together in the large room one more time for me to kind of sign off and officially welcome them to all these new students. So that's on Friday. Listen for those phone calls. And then just looking ahead, web doesn't end after orientation. Throughout the year, we're going to encourage the web leaders to reach out to your student through their emails to just kind of check in with them. We're hoping to do weekly or bi-weekly check-ins where web leaders just reach out and say, "Hey, how are classes going? Is there anything you need?" We also have some plans later in the year to have some other virtual connections where the entire web group gets back together again. Excuse me. Where the entire web group gets back together again, and they might do some fun online activities and just find more and more ways for your student, your 6th grade student, to feel that they belong at Twality and know that there are these students who have their back. So that's a little bit about web. Like I said, listen for those phone calls and make sure, if your student hasn't, as Ms. Harvey mentioned earlier, make sure they've got that iPad out and they've tried to connect to the TTSD web filter. That will make sure they're getting their calendar updates and they've got the right apps ready to join us for orientation on Friday at either 9 o'clock or at 10:30. So with that,
Hey,
I'll hand it back to
Dave, can I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
have just a clarifying question? Because
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that we got the alpha right. There's the A through L cohort and the M through Z cohort. Is that, I just heard you say A through K. So
That was what can't, yes, it is.
Okay,
it is,
so
however
A
the
through-
cohorts are divided, it's I think it's A through L and M through Z. That's
Okay, so Friday, September 11th, fun web activities for our sixth graders. The A through L, when are they meeting?
9 o'clock.
Okay, and the M through Z?
Is 10:30, yes.
Sweet,
And
okay.
The invitations in the Google Calendar and in Google Meets will have those times there for students. So you will only receive an invitation to the correct one. So if you're not positive, if you're in that LK area and you're confused, don't worry about it. You will only be able to get to the one that your student should go to.
Thanks, Dave.
So you're very welcome. And with that, I will hand it back to Principal Curl to close us up for the evening.
Great. If you can just go to that final slide, which is a thank you slide. Again, we're going to end a little early tonight. And I know that we're all very, very busy and there's a lot on our minds and on our plates. But once again, we just want to thank you so much for joining us. We would give anything to welcome your students in person, and we hope to do that soon. But we want to make sure that we're creating a really awesome, positive experience for them, even in this virtual setting, and that they feel prepared for sixth grade and prepared for middle school, and that they've had a chance to see some faces as we're starting the year. So once again, thank you all for coming and have an excellent evening.